This is Jordan Smallwood from the LA Wildcats, and this is the XFL show.
Football fans, this is For the Love of Football, and this is the road to 2022, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
Now, we did not get a champion in the XFL in 2020, but it doesn't mean we are putting a ring on it this year. It's episode 141. We got ambitious goals today, Bryant, because I am a taken man now, and we've got to talk about officially, and we got to talk about the most powerful woman of all the owners of all the sports leagues on today's show. A lot of Dani Garcia today.
Well, once you say her name much quieter, because now the wife is hearing everything you say.
Oh, sorry.
More so.
I got to take my own advice. Shh. My wife is asleep. My wife.
Someone who is definitely making her name in a male-dominated industries, I guess is what she put it. Dani Garcia is going to be all over today's episode.
Yes. We've had the espnW summit that we talked about. We previewed. That happened. Watched that. Had a SI article come out. Very interesting. Going to dive into it and learn a whole lot more and talk a lot about what Dani Garcia has been saying with her goals for the XFL, which are very interesting. That's all coming up on today's show. Plus, a lot of good news for people in St. Louis, I think. And we're going to have a good time here, Bryant. 724-565-4XFL, at XFL Show on social media. So that's the XFL Fan Line. That's the Twitter. That's the Instagram. It's all there. That's how you interact with us. And you could do it anytime. And leave that voicemail. We'll play it on the show. And hey, we know we're late this week, and so we've got all this new stuff that's accumulated, Bryant. We're about 24 hours late from the normal time. That's totally my fault. Again, ring.
I got married
blame
during the show. On the road to 2020, and
not
no
in the
delays.
Not in the middle of a pandemic, and also, I had to drive to an undisclosed location and then drive back. I wanted to do the show from the road, and then you're like, oh, we do video, don't forget. I said, oh, crap, I can't video myself while I drive. That just might be dangerous, fumbling with a GoPro and such. So we waited, and here we are. So at least we're getting the show out, and it's going to be plenty good.
For good reason, sir. Congratulations. As you saw, a lot of our loyal listeners as well send their well wishes to you,
yes,
and your lovely bride.
Oh yeah, thanks for all the well wishes from those football freaks, our good friends on Twitter. Congratulating me and my new wife, and this has been an awesome to see everybody show the love. We appreciate it here in this household, and we are going to show you love back today with some good, crisp football talk. Bryant, how about Jeff Badette possibly getting to play for the Washington football team this Sunday? I'm thinking about playing him on my fantasy team, because I'm so far ahead of everyone in my family league. I might be able to afford taking the chance just to represent the XFL this week in some fantasy football. But that might happen because their wide receiver core is depleted.
It could happen. There's always a chance, just that one time. What other football references can I bring in from when we were a child?
How great would that be, though, if I played Jeff Badette in a game and he actually scored a touchdown? I just get like 8 points from
now. What XFL are any? Like, is Parham available?
I could play Parham, if I want to, but I need to play I love TJ Hawkinson in that league. Got to play him. Got to play that Lions tight end. Not if he's there. I need that production.
Michigan?
He's an Iowa tight end.
Iowa, that's what it was.
Yeah,
First
so
round pick, if I remember correctly.
Gotta play him. Sorry, Donald Parham, not wasting the spot on you, but I got Plenty of wide receivers.
Ouch. You can't tell somebody sorry.
This is fantasy football, Donald, okay? As much as we love you. But, so I don't know. I'm thinking about doing that. If you can do that, I suggest it. Represent. Also, if you're in an IDP league, defensive players, Kenny Robinson's on the active roster for the Panthers this week, too.
Well, we'll see if he actually gets to play. I think was he on the active roster last week? He might have been.
I'm not sure if he's had any action yet. If he's on the active roster, I assume he will be on special teams at least this week against the Saints. So I will be watching that game for certain to get a glimpse. Of course, well, obviously, I'm always watching the Panthers because you're always just a moment away from PJ Walker. But I'll be watching for Kenny Robinson this week. And then also really good news, Jordan Ta'amu off the COVID list for the Chiefs roster. So that's obviously some decent news recovering from that damn demon virus.
No, definitely good to see him back in action, helping the Chiefs wherever he can. I always want to see somebody recoup from the demon virus, as you like to call it. So.
It's a SOB. I mean, I would not be so tired and worn out from a long drive, having to drive to the middle of nowhere to get hitched, just so that we can have our immediate family members there if it weren't for the demon virus moving weddings and stuff, moving life events. But that's the least of my concerns. Being sick with it, whole other story. That's real life. That's dangerous. That's scary. So I'm one of the lucky ones so far, knock on wood. But Jordan Ta'amu back and helping the Chiefs and their crazy loaded team in practice again on the practice squad. Now they have Le'Veon Bell. Everyone's talking about this Steelers-Titans game being a big glimpse at possible AFC Super Bowl representative, Bryant. But the Chiefs are damn good, and I give a lot of credit to Jordan Ta'amu's great practice squad abilities. They thumped the Ravens when they played.
You think they sorely missed him and not being able to be Allen this weekend?
Yeah, they played. Yeah, you got to have Jordan Ta'amu out there because he is going to get you ready. He is a tough guy to practice against. He's an athlete, great athlete. And so super happy to see him off the COVID list. All right, we're going to talk about people being super happy here in just a second. Cover 2 coming up. But got to tell everybody that we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. You could go to prettyeasypodcasts.com today to get your own podcast started. And that doesn't have to be a sports show. It could be whatever you're into. True crime, local politics, food, music shows they do. They got it all. Science. Religion.
Bird watching.
Ooh, a handyman show. If you're a handyman and you want to tell people that they could Google how to fix things and you want to do your own podcast, go to prettyeasypodcasts.com to get started today. Get your own producer for a very low rate. Take all the BS that comes with podcasting out of the equation for yourself. Have someone helping you out. Go to prettyeasypodcasts.com. I worked on a handyman show, and that was his main advice always was, do you have a computer? You should Google that problem. That was his answer to most problems. But Bryant, prettyeasypodcasts.com, you could give everybody the very famous catchphrase.
Making podcasting pretty easy. No joke on the Google thing, by the way. I've YouTubed like 6 repairs on my car already. So
built computers, cars. These Trico blades are very tough to put on, but then you go to YouTube, very easy, especially for a really dumb person like me when it comes to that sort of stuff. But when it comes to eating Spam sandwiches, I'm pretty darn good, and I think we're going to get opportunities to do it again, Bryant, because St. Louis wants the Battlehawks back, it looks like. This was awesome news to read. The St. Louis Convention and Visitors Commission eager to bring the Battlehawks back to the Dome. According to Kitty Ratcliffe, the CVC president, talking about the XFL reaching out to them and the other venues to gauge where their interest is for a 2022 reboot. Kitty Ratcliffe said, we indicated to the league that we'd be happy to have future conversations, and that was really the extent of it. So not much to report other than they reached out, and St. Louis said, we're down, but let's hear about the business plan, the model, and everything that's going to go into it. But The ears are open, not totally turned off to it, and why would they be? They were about to have 45,000 freaking fans for the Wildcats game, Bryant. St. Louis needs to be a part of 2022.
Alan, I know you're tired because you've had a long trip. Did you even play the cover 2 drop?
Who am I? Where am I? It's this week's cover 2.
I got screwed up. I just got screwed up.
I'm Jim Zorning all over the place.
Alan, to your point, I totally see why St. Louis would want the XFL back. And that is obvious, straightforward. We want you back. Unless there's some sort of strain on that relationship that can't be fixed because of what happened, there's no way that St. Louis wouldn't want them back. Right?
Yeah. It wouldn't make any sense unless like that bankruptcy situation is so terrible and Dani Garcia, the Rock and RedBird Capital present to them a plan that's just so heinous for their pocketbooks. I don't imagine that happening. These are smart business people that now own the XFL. The commission is willing to really, I mean, what the Rams did to them, it can't be any worse than what the Rams were doing. And the XFL
true.
gave them an amazing deal compared to what the Rams were doing. So I think they're going to be open to a return more so than the other cities. And I'm pretty confident after hearing Kitty Ratcliffe's comments on behalf of the CVC this week for sure.
Well, now let me put this into perspective, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. Don't get this personal, because I love St. Louis.
As he's wearing all the wild. If you're listening to the podcast,
No, in all seriousness,
Brian is literally
this.
decked out in all LA Wildcats today.
In all seriousness, like let's think about this. Now, what if because the XFL didn't know what to expect, they had a cake deal for St. Louis the first time around in 2020? Now, the XFL does know what they can expect and the benefits that it brings to the city, and all of a sudden that deal isn't so cake for the city as much as it was before.
Still won't be as bad as the Rams deal, which was zero for the city, and they were getting what was like $100,000 a game or something from the XFL to play there. So I think some sort of agreement will happen, and I would say of all the cities returning, any city returning, I put St. Louis at the top of my confidence list, especially with this quote. Kitty Ratcliffe, the head of the CVC, who will be, deciding whether or not they play in the Dome or not again. I can't speak for the community, but I can speak for our team. I know our team at the CVC would love to see the Battlehawks back, and I think the community would also. Hell yeah, the community would, especially the parts of the community that still interact with us on social media and the fan line, Bryant. Battlehawks fans are still there. They're still following every single step for a return to the Dome. Kitty Ratcliffe said, we'll keep our fingers crossed that something positive can move forward. And if I'm in terms of cities also, and I'm the league, that's the first city I'm reaching out to, because that is the city that showed the most love to the league in 2020, looked the best on TV, had the best energy, the most support, TV ratings included. You have to get St. Louis on board for 2022 ASAP. And
TV ratings
sooner
for
rather
the whole
than
league,
later.
mind you, not just for St. Louis. The whole league in St. Louis was a good money pit for the league. But do you think the league even wants to go back? Like, I mean, it's St. Louis. I mean, I'm joking. Of course, the league would want to go back. 100%.
All the good people that treated you so well, to even josh with them that way.
From Drew and his tailgate to Dirty and his little bar hub.
Oh, I hope Dirty's still out there, man. I hope Dirty's still out there following along, just waiting patiently. I don't imagine he's very patient, but I hope he's patiently waiting for the Battlehawks to return, because this week it feels like they will be 2022. That's a long ways away, I know, for Battlehawks fans to see football again, but that is some really positive news to hear that at least city side, the XFL seems to be, it seems like it will be welcomed back. So we will see how it develops. But of course, that all depends on what the league does and what their strategy is and what their plans are and what the business model will be and a lot of the heavy lifting that's to come. And we got some more peeks at what the goals and the ideas are from the new ownership this week. And for the rest of the show, Bryant, cover 2, part 2 here, and also the hot read coming up, we're going to focus on Dani Garcia, the owner of the XFL, along with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, RedBird Capital. Dani Garcia, driving force, a just megastar of a executive in sports and entertainment right now. Hands in all sorts of things, from Hollywood to the Titan Games, to some other ventures that they're doing with this Athleticon I was reading about this week. That's going to be a really kind of ambitious, like that's the word of the day, ambitious idea for athletic competition. So Dani Garcia all over the place this week, especially because we had the espnW summit. So speaking for a sit-down interview, all about being the first woman owner in the United States of a sports league. Speaking to SI, Sports Illustrated, this week in a very lengthy article and a video also, a part of their Unrelenting series, and the article written by Priya Desai. This was a lot of revealing of the new owner, a lot of revealing of the biography, but also the ideas that Dani Garcia is bringing to the XFL, which I'm most interested in for sure, because I want to know all about Dani Garcia as this historic, for sure. I want to know all about this story, which is amazing. I mean, think about it's The Rock is a part of this. Of course, that's the big name, but really the big story is Dani Garcia, and that's why out front, the first real big marketing and media push for the league is her this week with this SI article and the espnW summits. Yeah,
I mean, she's really been kind of the face of this movement of the XFL since it was bought. Excuse me. The Rock has been there for the most part, with an announcement here, announcement there, a video out there, whatnot. But Dani Garcia is taking the XFL horse by the reins and really steering the ship. At least it looks like, and for good reason. I mean, you can see what she's been invested in. Her portfolio, I'm sure, is amazing. And she continues to put herself out there to kind of give her goals and to why she's doing what she's doing with this league.
And I love it. I love the personality too. Just totally unafraid to just put out all of her accomplishments. I mean, guiding the career of the biggest star in the world, The Rock, being behind super deals like with their brand partnerships with Under Armour, Voss Water. Like, they have really forward-thinking ideas for how to market not just The Rock, but also now everything else that Dani Garcia is a part of. If you want to learn a lot about Dani Garcia, the businesswoman and the person, definitely read that SI article. Super fascinating. She's also a bodybuilder, in case you haven't noticed. I mean, I don't know how these human beings find the time in the day or the energy.
Oh, stick around now and I'll let you know.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you how to.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. That's a secret to tell after the show, then.
Yeah,
okay, because
sure.
I
need a new
it.
podcast for Pretty Easy Podcast.
Yeah, and
bodybuilding with Bryant.
I would definitely listen to it. All the things not to do, bodybuilding. But that's Google our new spinoff show. Okay, you want to learn how to build your muscles? You should Google that. Yeah. But Dani Garcia is an amazing human being, businesswoman, athlete, and now bringing forward these awesome ideas that we're going to kind of pick apart coming up. But there are 37 female CEOs in the American Fortune 500 companies, so the highest grossing companies. 37 of them female. Dani Garcia, one of them, and so in these interviews, she's just talking about really how she's taking this new role on with the XFL, this new adventure, this new pursuit with like a ton of responsibility, a ton of weight on her shoulders, because she's really going out there being a pioneer, going out there and totally just breaking barriers willingly and knowingly, and being unafraid to just acknowledge that, which I just find awesome. And this is super headline grabbing. This is what I think is going to help the XFL in addition to The Rock is how the hell can ESPN and Fox, like SportsCenter, not pay attention to this story, Bryant, once the league starts kicking into high gear and becomes a thing. Like this narrative, having this kind of owner who's not only, a new kind of owner in terms of the demographics or whatever, but the thinking of Dani Garcia, the ideas, really intelligent risks, someone who's just not beholden to being a part of a machine like an ESPN or a Fox. Dani Garcia is a outside the box thinker too.
Yeah.
That will, take big risks and hits on a lot of them. Baywatch, maybe not so much, but other risks
Still
she
a
has
hit.
taken.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Not a great movie. Still made money.
Yeah.
Still a hit.
It's still The Rock. So it feels like it's one of those business people, at least right now. Most of the stuff, if not everything, she's touching turns to gold, and that's why I'm super excited. Reading this got me really thinking about how she thinks in terms of marketing, the brand deals I expect now from reading these articles for the XFL, the partnerships. I'm interested to see what happens, Bryant, because Dani Garcia got The Rock and Under Armour to hook up, and that is just like huge bucks, awesome partnership. You go all over the place. You see people. We were wrestling nerds in middle school seeing, if you saw anybody wearing a Brahma Bull, you freak out. Oh my God, yeah. You like wrestling, but now you see someone wearing a Brahma Bull. That's just like seeing a Nike swoosh somewhere. Everybody's wearing that stuff. And that's really a brainchild of Dani Garcia, and seeing she could connect a business to a brand, her own brands that way. What will she do for the XFL? I can only imagine.
Isn't that how you and Jake met? Wasn't he wearing like a Brahma Bull in college or something?
Oh, no.
Like, hey, wrestling.
Yeah, well, he's wearing like a SummerSlam I Was There t-shirt or something. Yeah, he's...
No, you're right. And I'll admit, and I think most of us will admit, that we didn't know that Dani Garcia was behind all these things. We see The Rock, it's The Rock. But I guess there is always somebody behind The Rock.
And there's so many different aspects of her holding company. Like, they have their hands
there was
in,
a
like,
whole brand. Did you see that like tree
thing
that they put together?
They've got like a Greek restaurant and stuff. All sorts of stuff. And that is...
If I did... This was what my tree looks like right here. Blank square if you're watching on YouTube.
It's just indicative of how the outside the box thinking, really the expansion and the how everything she goes into, she wants to be bigger. Dani Garcia. I love that kind of thinking. And I think I know where she gets at least some of it from and some of the inspiration from, because every interview I watched this week, everything I read from Dani Garcia, where she spoke about Vince McMahon in a positive light when it comes to the marketing and the business acumen and the ideas and connecting with an audience and how you promote. And taken from that playbook is going to be, I think, a smart thing. And Dani Garcia seems to recognize that, especially when she talks about connecting with an audience and really giving the people what they want, which is a Vince McMahon staple, staying connected with the audience, which a lot of people might criticize now Vince McMahon these days for maybe being disconnected with the audience in certain realms and certain aspects of his business. But Dani Garcia is someone who is clicking on all cylinders currently in all of her business ventures in that regard.
Yeah, no, it makes you feel kind of warm and fuzzy. It's like having Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback in fantasy football, right? It's like a nice warm blanket over your weekend when it comes to fantasy football. That's what I feel like. I'm starting to get that feeling with Dani Garcia, that she's this warm blanket
reliable
over the league. Reliable, something that is going to make you feel comfortable with this league moving forward.
Won't cut corners, won't take an unnecessary risk, but will take a risk that she's going to put her full effort into and full thought into. And I'm super excited to see where these risks go, because she is going to take some, and she already has acknowledged some of those.
Her mind is going in a million miles a second when it comes to ideas about the XFL. We're going to talk about some, but it's just like I said, it excites me. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that she's got this XFL by the horns, by the
Brahma bull horns. Yes, she's going for it. But some people might criticize. Are you sure you want to do that? And we have to acknowledge that and dissect it a little bit. And that's what we're going to do is we continue to talk about Dani Garcia running wild in the interviews this week and some of the stuff she said with her goals for the XFL in this week's Hot Read. Okay, so in the Sports Illustrated article, Bryant, Dani Garcia acknowledged a few of her goals for the XFL, and they stood out as potentially risky, super interesting, and potentially blockbuster in terms of what it could do for the league. So some of these are expanding from 8 teams, so that's more teams and more cities in the league, focusing on technology and innovation, an emphasis on defining the culture of the XFL, which Dani Garcia in the article said she wants the league to feel like the younger, trendy, kind of a cooler haircut sibling when you compare it to other leagues. And then also providing storytelling that can attract a female fan base unlike anything we've ever seen before, something Dani Garcia is very passionate about, talking about this week at the espnW Summit. So looking at all these ambitious goals she put out there this week, Bryant, which of those have the potential to be the most impactful and the most beneficial to the XFL, and which could backfire? Which are the riskiest? What do you think?
If I break down the ones you just kind of said, the expanding from 8 teams makes me a little nervous if it's at go. Just because there's so much talk about whether or not the 8 teams you're going with are going to be here for the go live, I guess, again, of XFL 2022. I think the one that has the potential to backfire is possibly the 8 teams. If you expand too quickly, I think you're going to run thin on those teams, and you don't. And as much as Oliver Luck in the previous, ownership and in the front office was quality football, you got to have quality football. If it's not great football, you're going to lose fans regardless of what you're watching. So if you go from 8 to 10, that's 2 more teams that you got to spread all those players out. You got to get 2 more, good quarterbacks. Don't know where you. So I think that one has the potential to have some ripple effects. The one I want to see, because I think we saw it all, and I hope it continues, and the most impactful stuff is the tech, the innovation. We saw what the XFL could do in 2020. It was great. It was awesome. The behind the scenes look, the XFL, the Xbox controller, replay booth, all that stuff was great. And I think if they can continue to do those things, it'll further broaden the aspects of what the XFL can offer.
The technology is sitting there and just waiting to exponentially grow and bring the league to newer heights for sure. And I feel like that won't be too difficult based on the blueprints you have on all that stuff. Instant replay and, the presentation of the game, audio especially, which was just mind-blowing. Reality TV type production also with maybe the preseason or half times and all that. I feel like that stuff is right there, but I don't know how, especially with the NFL now and then between now and then, possibly borrowing and taking some of those ideas. How new will those ideas be? We'll see come 2022. A lot of time between now and then. I think the most blockbuster to me of all those goals she mentioned is the defining of the culture of the XFL, and that's because the defining of the culture of the XFL, I feel like it's being not just fan friendly, which is already kind of mantra of the league that they've just now purchased and they're maintaining, but the emphasis on player-owner relationship being redefined in the XFL and being in harmony. In the summit, the espnW summit, Dani Garcia talked about this. The relationship between owners and players historically is one that could seem kind of cold, is one that doesn't seem mutually beneficial. It's one where maybe the players just feel like pawns, and a lot of us see that. So the XFL reaching out to players, letting them know they are a part of something that is a collective and also something that is going to be beneficial to their own careers. Really being player friendly, emphasizing culture, and also being quote unquote woke with the current culture, in the country and globally, and what people want to see and want to hear. That is going to go a long way, I think. And we see a lot of all the leagues, except maybe the NBA, are reactive. Although the NBA is very reactive. They get out in front of a lot of stuff too. More so than the NFL for sure. But leagues being reactive to cultural issues, to player issues, always comes back to bite them in the keister. The XFL avoids those kind of headaches, gets out in front of it. They could find themselves with better talent, better relationship with talent, and when you have talent and happy talent, that's going to just bode well for the league, the quality of the play, and I think that doesn't trickle down. That just rises up from there. You build it off of that. That's where the blockbuster, ambitious goal is from Dani Garcia. That's what I like hearing the most, what I'm excited to see the most, is how they treat the players. And then you talk about expanding from 8 teams. That has potential to be a big, dangerous risk. So don't do it too early, like Brian said. I would be very scared if in 2022 they say we have even 12 teams, because I thought 8 was the perfect number. Easy to follow, especially for people just starting with the league. You do any more than that, you're risking, like Brian said, of stretching yourself thin, especially the talent pool. So beware of that. But I love it. I love that there's an owner who wants to just hit home runs. That's Dani Garcia, and that's what we learned this week from these interviews, Brian. I'm hyped. I can't believe I'm saying it. More hyped to see Dani Garcia in charge of the league than The Rock, and I'm a day oneer fan of The Rock.
Instead of hitting home runs, can we just say she likes to go for 3? I think that's just more appropriate in this sense.
Yes.
Dani Garcia is always going for 3 if she's a football coach, and I like it, and I don't mind it. It gives the league some hope in terms of not being stale ever. Because Dani Garcia, and I'm sure The Rock as well, is always going to be trying to do new things, different things.
Well, I love what The Rock says. He said this a couple times now, is that she builds the spaceship. She builds the spaceship, and he just flies it. And that's what I'm hyped for. Is now we know who the spaceship maker is, and I am just mesmerized by the mind and the ideas, and I'm really hyped for what was said this week from Dani Garcia. Anyone who missed these, especially that Sports Illustrated article, you could watch that video. It's like 6 minutes or so. If you want to learn more about the new
back to
owner,
the Vice
yes,
too, as well,
the Vice interview was like a toe dip. This piece from Sports Illustrated really gives you a glimpse at who now owns the XFL. And from what Dani Garcia said, any doubts I had, at least going into it, I'm totally cool with and totally hyped for, because borrowing from the playbook of Vince McMahon, being as successful as she's already been, having The Rock as a business partner, what more could you ask for in a new owner? We were saying before, we're hoping maybe ESPN or Fox just buys the league out of bankruptcy court, Brian. I'm so happy that didn't happen, because now we have actual people who want to innovate and do something different, and not just put something that's going to make them a little bit of cash or get them a little bit of a rating to fill a time slot. These are people who are doing it with passion, and we learned that this week with these really intimate interviews. And really, it's a marketing week with Dani Garcia, and it was fascinating to see. And any XFL fan Any XFL freak needs to check that out.
If you're not pumped, first of all, if you're not pumped, I don't think you're listening to the show, so that's fine. Yeah, Dani Garcia's got to get you pumped. All the ideas, all the different things that are going to be coming with her, I'm excited for it, and I can't wait for her to keep, giving us a little glimpse into that mind of hers as we get closer and closer to kickoff in 2022. Expanding from 8 teams makes me excited because then I don't think they're getting rid of the LA team at all.
That is also something to think about too. If they do ever expand, I mean, you got to imagine LA's a part of, at least maybe, or just part of the league. If they're gonna, they're
expanding to more than 8 teams, they're definitely going to be in LA. So why leave LA now and then come back later?
That would be awkward. But it did not. She did not say expansion immediately, so no one take that the wrong way. She just said being bigger than 8 teams. Saying that out front though is cool, because
it's a goal for the league. Eventually, you'll get there.
Not putting a time on that would be worrisome. Like, we want to be right out the gate more than 8 teams. But saying eventually we want more than 8 teams. We want
let's be real though, Alan,
30 teams.
All these the last 3 iterations really of spring leagues all came out with 8 teams, and all didn't work. So she said 10. Maybe she knows something we don't know. Maybe she discovered something that 8 is just not the right number. It needs to be 10.
Gotta go with an even number. 10 might be better.
I mean, 8's even, but it's fine.
Okay.
Round?
Well,
is that what you're going with, round?
It's late.
Alan's tired.
It's tired. This ring is cutting the circulation up from my brain,
hurts.
maybe?
It hurts.
Is that how that works?
3 weeks afterwards, yeah.
I don't even feel this thing, although I can't feel my head or my face. Should we just end the show? Yeah, I think it's that time.
Alan has been making me laugh with jokes like that for 20 years, folks.
And I'm not even a dad yet.
Alan, if you don't want to be a dad during football season, stay away from April to June. Just telling you that now.
It's good advice.
Folks, this is the XFL Show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at XFL Show. Actually, all social media, Instagram as well, at XFL Show. Follow the show. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm tired now too. Listen every single week here, every single Friday morning, usually, unless Alan decides to get married again, on your favorite podcast platform. That's Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever. And also watch us on YouTube. YouTube.com/This Is The XFL Show, the official YouTube page of the XFL. Alan, congratulations, sir. It's been a busy week for you, so I appreciate you taking a few moments of time to actually reach out to our football fanatic fans.
Hell yeah, wouldn't miss it. Hey, we're a little
fanatic fans.
We're a little late, but we're here. We're not going to miss a week on the road to 2022. Sometimes you got to take a long pit stop on the road. Maybe you stopped at Bojangles and you went crazy with the Bow Box, and you gotta just take your time, pace yourself, and if you get it out a little.
41 episodes. This is our first time ever not making an on-time release, so I think we're okay.
Is that true? I feel like we were late.
True.
We were never late.
Never
before?
have been late. Come on,
wow.
Never have been late before. We even have more than 141.
Technically, the show is supposed to come out Sundays. We've just been doing it early for the last few months. So it's still early, and I'm sticking to that, and that's how we're going to end it. Early again this week. And enjoy your college football and NFL weekend. We'll be back next week to talk more XFL as more stuff comes out about the coming 2022 kickoff. For Bryant, I'm Alan. Thanks, everybody, for the love and support. Always. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. And yes, my wife appreciates you. She loved hearing the Dani Garcia interviews in our car ride this morning. It's great. She's on board with it. We're glad you are too. We'll see you next week. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.